A couple months ago, I set up a pretty interesting project in this tank above me.
Wow.
I was looking in here one night and I noticed that there was baby bettas. This tank is 20 centimeters high. I think it's 2 foot wide and 3 foot long. Very interesting sized tank. I built this genuinely just because I had extra space on top of this fish tank rack and I wanted to maximize the amount of tanks I had in here. And this was pretty much the only size that I could think of that would work really well for up here. They've been really interesting tanks, but I set up a really interesting project in here, and that was keeping a male and female betta together for a month and seeing what happened. And if you haven't already seen that video, I'd recommend going and watching it. But in essence, I set up this tank with a bunch of pothos that you can see in here, or pothos, whatever you want to call it, just to create a ton of hiding spaces. Obviously, it's quite a big volume of water, and I thought that because this is almost like a bit of a puddle, that it would actually act as a very natural environment of where bettas would originally come from. Now, obviously, domestically bred bettas are not what they used to be. They're not wild type bettas. So it was just going to be interesting to see how the project went. There was plenty of hiding spaces. The male and female pretty much started breeding instantaneously. And because he was so occupied breeding and she was, able to hide, they actually got along pretty well. They would constantly breed. I saw them have about 4 or 5 spawns, and I thought that they would constantly just be eating the eggs, and I never saw any babies. So I let the project go while I went away for about 5 weeks, and I came back. Yeah, they were both still alive, albeit the female was in pretty rough condition. I think she was finally over the whole breeding thing. I think she'd worked out that she was done with that. And he, I don't think, agreed. So he was beating up really bad on her. He was actually really looking for her in the tank. And it made me question whether this project was actually possible. Obviously, people know that you can't keep fighting fish together. And this kind of proved to me that this is, for the most part, true. I don't think that someone who isn't an experienced aquarist could do this easily, because they wouldn't know how to read fish or tell when the situation was going a little bit too far. So I ended up taking her out pretty much after I came back from that trip and left him in here. And I was just getting ready to, leave it for a while, tear down the tank when I had some more time and reuse it for something else. But I was looking in here one night and I noticed that there was baby bettas, and they were actually getting quite big. So I've actually counted, I think 5 or 6 at any given time, little baby bettas about 2 centimeters long now, that I had no clue were in here. So they actually naturally bred in here. And that's the first time I've ever bred a fish like this, just adding them to a tank, leaving them, and babies appearing. I just thought it was quite interesting, and I wanted to show everyone that this was possible. Back on the topic of whether it's possible to keep fighting fish together, I'm not entirely sure that I'd recommend it to people. It's definitely not the most enjoyable thing you can do with a tank. It does put the female especially under a lot of stress. I have tried keeping 2 males together and the same thing happens. They just really pick on each other. I would wonder whether a female-only sorority would go okay in this tank. I've never done a female sorority. We do them in the shop, but once it gets down to 3 or 4 fish left in the tank, it does turn into a bit of a boxing match. I mean, he's been in here with his children and he seems pretty unbothered by them. He is such a gorgeous fish, and I'm definitely going to be using him for breeding again. But what I was thinking we'd do for this video is take down the tank, see how many babies there are, see the colors as well. I'm just fascinated by how well it went. So let's see what we got. So I just finished pulling down this tank, and you can see it's pretty messy. The pothos went pretty nuts in there, and I just pulled it all out. You can see the big mess of it everywhere. So I caught as many as I could out, and I caught these 4. I think there might be still 1 in there. The water's a little bit dirty, but they don't care. You can see the difference in all the colors. So there's 2 that look really similar. Then one sort of really, I'm colorblind, so I don't know what color that is. I guess it looks kind of yellowy. The one right here. And then we've got a cellophane one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add these to their own little grow out tank, grow them all out, and I really am interested to see what colors turn out from these. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fascinating. I'm definitely gonna breed the male again just because he's so beautiful, but we'll add these to a grow out tank, which is gonna be over here. And they can just go straight in like that. So yeah, these little guys can finish their growing out in here. And they're gonna be very happy. I'm actually gonna give them some bug buffet just to feed them, and I'll show you guys why this stuff is so good. So we'll grab a bag of bug buffet. And then the reason I love bug buffet so much is that you can crush it up into this fine dust, which all of these little babies will definitely eat little particles of. And this is what I grew them up on. So you can see how I milk this stuff up in the water. Because there was all these little particles and stuff in that big tank up above, it actually provided food for all these babies to survive, because otherwise, if I was just feeding flakes or something like that, I'm not sure that any of these babies would have actually made it. So yeah, what an interesting little experiment. I'm super happy with how it turned out, and I can't wait to grow these fish out and show you guys what they look like later on.